everyone. So I just thought I'd pop on. So today I am joined with Emma Kinsella from G3 Mortgages. I've been talking to Emma a long time. She basically is the guru for me for when I had my buy-to-let, and one of the main reasons I started the agency, because she is kind of my go-to. I think there's not a day I don't pop on and have a discussion and kind of use you as a sounding board, I suppose, and have a chat and things. So yesterday I had a call with her and just said, look, I've seen this article's come up. What's going on with it? We had a bit of a discussion about the 100% mortgages that are going to be released, I think, didn't we? And I said, well, why don't we pop on, do a video to share with everyone, and we can have the expert kind of tell us all about it. So I'll leave you to it now, Emma, just to tell you us a little bit about it, background of it, really.
It's so it's been launched. It's a great product. It's basically for applicants must be over 21. There must be first-time buyers, and they must have been renting for at least 12 months in a row within the last 18 months. So basically, that allows the lender to forego a deposit. So it's a 100% mortgage because they have the proof that you can keep up with your rent, you can keep up with the household bills, and it gives them comfort that you'll be able to afford the mortgage. So obviously, the applicant can't have missed any payments on debts or credit cards in the last 6 months. And just one caveat to add is the monthly mortgage payment must be equal or lower than the average of the last 6 months' rental cost. Okay, so if you're currently paying £1,000 on your rent, the new mortgage payment with Skipton can't exceed £1,000. So because that's the comfort level they've got as proof that you can afford that amount plus the household outgoings. So it will work for many people. For some people who are lucky or on slightly lower rents, maybe less than, they've got a nice landlord who's kept the rent low for them, it might hinder them in the amount that they can borrow. But it's a good start. It's a good product for renters who have not had the opportunity to save up a deposit.
Because let's be honest, rent's so high at the minute that people can't afford to live and save for a deposit. I mean, I'd struggle, and we've both got young families, and we've always talked about how are they going to get on the ladder. We obviously get a lot of families now who can kind of gift deposits, or they take equity out of their own, and there's lots of different things there. But I definitely think we're on the right track for this.
I'm hoping some other lenders will follow suit, maybe do things slightly differently, maybe not with that rent cap, but it is a good start because lenders are realizing that people cannot save a deposit and pay the high rents that they're currently paying. The affordability on this is capped at 4.49 times gross income. So if you've got two applicants earning £20,000 a year, then it would be 4.49 times 40,000 as a maximum for the mortgage. But they've still got that caveat about the mortgage payment can't be higher than the current rent.
I think that's key, where we touched upon affordability, and we talked before, didn't we, about just before we came on this and pressed the go live, the record button. There are kind of people having concerns about it. There was that crash previously, but actually things have changed from that, haven't they?
Massively, yeah. The market is totally different to the credit crunch, to 2008. Much more regulated, much more, emphasis goes on affordability for the clients. The lenders are stressing that they do this with every mortgage, not just this one, but they will stress that if rates go up, you can still afford it. So, if this product is 5.49 5-year fixed, in the background, they'll be stressing at a much higher rate based on your affordability to ensure that it will go up. But as this particular product is fixed for 5 years, there's the comfort that the mortgage payment will not change in that 5-year period. And that also gives the comfort of, if anyone's worried about house prices slightly reducing, you've got enough time for that to ultimately not be an issue.
And I think we've spent a lot of time, and we talk about this a lot. the media and the property market is nowhere near as bad as it was meant to be anyway, is it?
No.
It hasn't. It's still going up by like a small percentage each month, and it's nowhere near as bad. So it's important to say, and we touched upon this again before we came on. People will always need to move. They'll always need to live in a house, and actually, once you're on the ladder, you want it, and actually house prices naturally go up anyway.
Yeah. On average, house prices double every 10 years historically. So, you know, and you know, when you think about COVID and what happened with house prices there, even if we're having a situation now where in some areas, not all, properties might be plateauing in cost, on the purchase price, which I'm not finding in my area. You know, but the house prices rose about 15% during COVID because of the stamp duty holiday and people actually paying above asking price. So we're probably just having a correction at the moment, if at all.
I think prices couldn't just sustain, could they? Like going up as quickly as they were. Do you know what I mean? So that's it. I think that's the difference. We talk about this a lot, don't we? And
I think now is a good time for first-time buyers, because even though rates have gone up, it's almost irrelevant what the rates are as long as you can afford it, because you'll be basing it on affordability. And we're not in that situation now where during COVID you've got 30 people vying to buy the same property. They're throwing 20 grand over the asking price for it. Actually, that would have been a horrible time for first-time buyers, because you know, you're having to pay over the odds. Whereas now it's a much more settled market. You know, house prices are, I think, quite, you know, that they're not asking stupid prices anymore.
No, they've stabilised. I think definitely.
It's realistic.
Yeah, people are getting that time to think at the moment and make sure that it is the right one for them. So
that's right. Yeah,
that's the difference. I think what we've talked about is hopefully there's more lenders that will come on and offer the projects. That tends to happen, doesn't it? But this is the first one that's been released, isn't it?
The first 100% I've seen in many years. Yeah, and you know, there's other options for people if this, you know, is not a product for them. But you know, we can let clients know if they're eligible for this or not.
I think that's the key. I think people, unless they've had that conversation, and I remember the first time I went for my mortgage appointment, my goodness, I was terrible. I was terrified. There's not even any doubt about it. We all know, and Emma knows my finances probably better than my husband and my family and everything. I eat too many takeaways. I'm very good at, do you know what I mean, eating out, and actually, which is just normal, do you know what I mean, and understanding kind of what goes on. So it's just having that first point, isn't it, and having that conversation with people.
And even if people aren't ready now to move, we're always happy to speak to first-time buyers, explain the process, explain what they can potentially borrow, even if it's not this 100% product. You know, if they've got a bit of deposit, you know, we can always walk everybody through it. You know, and even, you know, we help with, you know, solicitors' forms and the whole process of buying a property. We can help them out.
That's the key. I've always said, we don't buy and sell every day. I'm not your typical estate agent. No matter how many people say to me, it still shocks me, like, estate agent, what's that? But I think because it's that whole journey and talking through and understanding the process, isn't it? I think so. I think this is a good project. I think it's good to start having conversations, and it was useful to kind of explain this a little bit more, because the headlines always only give a certain amount of something. They don't. I've been saying this for a long time, so there's always a backstory. There's always something else. But actually, we've kind of covered everything with that, haven't we? Really?
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, it's a good product, you know, and you know, I think Skipton will have a lot of people interested in it. I've already had lots of inquiries.
So I thought so. I was at the cafe yesterday, and I think you'll be able to cover this more, but I don't think it will work out, because they do, when they say first time buyers, they do look at everything. They do check. It was a bit like the Help to Buy and things like that. Somebody did come to us the other day and said, right, I'm a first time buyer, my husband's not, and I assume then they're not eligible, because obviously one of them on the mortgage application isn't. So that is
something. I mean, that is something we can query with Skipton, because some lenders, if you've ever owned a property, then you are not a first-time buyer. But some lenders class you as a first-time buyer if you haven't owned for 3 or 5 years or So it is something we can clarify with Skipton and see what their stance would be on it for this product.
And like you say, it's such a new product. These questions are going to come out, and we do get to clarify. And again, it's that way you build the relationships up with people to ask the question, and because everyone is so different. I think that's the key, isn't it? You come up with see so many different scenarios, don't you? Really,
every day is a school day in this job. You come up with some weird and wonderful stuff, and that's what we're here for. We research all the lenders, we find the best product for people. And nothing is normal at the moment. I don't get any sort of just standard, purchases or remortgages. There's always a little quirk, which is what we're there for. That's our job to place those things.
I can't say how many times I'm literally at the end of the phone where I'm like, right, what's this? What's that? And do you know what I mean? Like, and it is, like, it's not that we don't know. There's so many different scenarios. And,
so many, and we've got access to so many lenders with, different criteria and, little quirky stuff they do. So it's, there's usually, we can find an option for most people. And even if we can't, so say we could say to someone, look, you're not ready now, but you'll be ready in 3 months, depending on their circumstances. And, I'm doing a mortgage for someone at the moment. I've been talking to her for a year, and she's finally in a place where she can purchase a property, and that's going through at the moment. So, it's never too early really to have that first chat. At least then you know what you're working towards.
Oh, I agree. And I think, like you said, I wouldn't have had my buy-to-let without you, because we wouldn't have talked about all the affordability and things like that.
Yeah.
So many
different be an estate agent.
I definitely wouldn't be an estate agent without Emma. I remember going
my fault.
Blame Emma. It really is. I think I remember you dealing with my buy-to-let, and do you remember the conversations? It was like, what are the estate agents doing in your area? They can't do that. What are they going on? And then about a year later, when we were managing it and kind of going through those conversations, it was like, do you know what? Now's the time to set up and make people more accountable and cover everything. We've got so many stories together. I think my first house, remember, I was homeless for 9 weeks, and then we will cover all of this. But do you remember when I did my remortgage, the British Gas had put a missed payment on my credit file?
You joined Twitter just to complain.
But I was on a prepayment meter, so it wasn't even possible for them to do it. So I'm not the expert, Emma is, but I know that there's so many things that people look for. You're looking at your credit score, you're looking at different things, aren't you? And you're looking at everyone's situations, and there are thousands. And that's why I always say to people, have you got an independent mortgage advisor? Because there are some agents that link to their own, don't they? And then only look at a small pool.
They only have like a small panel of lenders. And, when you think about, different scenarios, and a lot of the time, even if you've got a bit of adverse or something like that, a lot of the time we can get a building society to look at it. But someone, an advisor who's just dealing with a small panel, will stick it to a specialist lender on a high rate because they've got adverse, and a lot of the time there's no need. So it's crucial really to see an independent mortgage advisor, because it's the biggest loan of your life.
God, we had that family, didn't we? We talked about recently where they've moved into their new build now, that went with the corporate, originally got such a small kind of
they got declined, and then rang me to say they were pulling out of it all, so they got declined by the broker. So I said, well, look, just give me send everything over to me, I'll have a look at it. Got them a mortgage offer. So it is it is important that you speak to a mortgage broker, because if you try and do it yourself online, there's so many different lenders, so many different criteria, so many different rates, that you could really end up going with the wrong product for you and costing yourself more money potentially.
It's all the terminology, isn't it? Fixed term, repayment, honestly, and I think for me, I remember how nervous I was for a long time, not wanting to go to that mortgage appointment. And I think by doing these videos, we get to open it up. We get to show just how normal we are. We're just real people living no different to anyone else. We've all been there. And that's why I absolutely love Emma, because I don't get judged. And I think that's the biggest thing for me. And it's easy for other people not to say, but when you're going through some of your bank statements and it's personal and you're looking, I just feel comfortable. So, and how many
we
people
never judge, and whatever your situation, A, we've already seen worse, and B, you know, we are human beings too, and you know, I've been poor.
We talk about that a lot, don't we?
Yeah, you know, we understand life happens and stuff happens, and you know, I get people who say, "Oh, yeah, I'm really embarrassed. I've got bad credit," or you know, the thing I get the most at the moment is, "Oh, I've got a bad credit score with Experian or whoever." Don't worry about those credit scores. All lenders have their own internal credit scores. Plus, we have lenders who don't credit score; they just credit search, and they do it on criteria. So people get hung up on their credit score online. And you know, the main thing lenders are looking for: have you missed any payments on commitments? That's the big thing. Are you showing that you can keep up with the money you have already borrowed? That's you know, that's what it mainly boils down to. And even if you haven't, and you've had some blips, there are lenders that will lend. And you know, I don't think anyone should ever be embarrassed about their situation. We will always, you know, talk them through what their options are. We will help them with it. And you know, but people, you know, we're just normal people doing a job. And you know, we like helping people, and you know, those difficult cases where you know there are issues, but we managed to place it. They're, you know, they feel good. You know, once you get it placed, you feel like you've achieved something.
Oh no, and I think what we'll do is we'll keep people updated with the Skipton mortgages, the 100% mortgages, and things like that. And as questions arise, and we have mentioned about doing more of these sessions because there's just so much around mortgages, isn't there?
There's so much. I mean, even if people don't qualify for this 100%, there are other options. So even though this is great, there are plenty of other options for people who don't have a deposit.
Maybe our next session we'll talk about like the agreement in principle or something like that, about the first step, isn't it? In kind of seeing what you can kind of eligible for, and because how do you know what to look for if you haven't been kind of know what you can afford or what's been you're going to get approved for and things.
And it's like everything in life, you don't know what you don't know, do you? And that's, you know, and that's the thing. So it, you know, I think, yeah, there's probably many more of these videos we could do.
We're going to keep them updated. I think that they are useful. We can be contacted in the week. Everyone, I've got my Facebook page, so it's just Canon and Co on Facebook and different things. And I do tag you in quite a few posts if I can, if they're relevant. So it's just G3 Mortgages, isn't it? Yours is.
Yeah, and then you can just message on the page and ask for Emma, and I will answer.
She is amazing. But no, I think we've covered this today, and then we'll carry on next week, or maybe do some more soon.
Brilliant. Lovely.
Speak to you later. Take care. Thank you for watching. Bye.